Hmm. Okay, we online. Are we live? We are live. Mm. That was kind of disappointing. Tried to stream simultaneously to Twitch and YouTube because I figured Twitch might have quite a few people who are interested in this sort of stuff, but frame rates were absolutely horrendous on both YouTube and Twitch, so that's not happening at the moment. I don't know what I've done wrong, and just the frame rates from the camera seem poor today. I don't know what's going on. Not too good. Anyway, this is the machine I was working on Friday night, and it is fixed. If you remember, this was the 800XE that had been painted because of blooming when I treated it with peroxide. I'm just looking at the stream quality here, it's horrendous. I don't know what's going on with this. The camera input looks reasonably smooth, but the stream looks poor. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's a bad time of day to do it. Maybe the upstream on the internet's not good. Let's try and change the bitrate a little bit. Maybe it's a little bit too high. Let's go to 5. Let's see if that's any better. Let's see if this is any better at all. Move things around a bit. The lag is about, what, 15 seconds? 20 seconds? Yeah, easily. That's not so bad. Okay, so the last thing I did was discover that although I fixed the backlight on this SIO to SD board here, which uses a DC to DC converter, so it was a bit of a fanny on to get it to work, but I got it to work, got the backlight to work, and then when I finally connected the SIO lines to the board and powered it on, I got a row of squares along the top of the screen signifying that the Atmel chip had suffered a brownout and needed to be reprogrammed. There ensued on Saturday evening a virtual machine setup on a Windows 10 PC with Windows 7 to try and get PonyProg 64 to work, trying to install drivers for the AVR cable. Nothing worked. And as I was trying to connect this cable to this board with a 6-pin header, it occurred to me, does the board work at all? And that's when I realized that this crystal here, which is 14.31818 megahertz, it was the longer package crystal, which sits proud of the board on the 2 legs. And when I'd fitted this ribbon cable back together, this ribbon cable is a bit heftier than the one that was on before, and I'd bent the crystal back, I'd broken one of the legs on the crystal, so that's why it didn't work. Now, I was pretty sure that I didn't have a crystal, because the last board that I made which was the Atari 800XL with the fancy blue screen and all the buttons, which I filmed a while ago. There's another video on here where you can see that one. That was a scratch built SIO to SD board made from a PCB which I'd bought years ago, which was just lying around in the drawer, which I populated, and I didn't have a crystal for it, so I stole the crystal from this board. Now, who made this one? Panos. Ah, yes. Santos P. So this has been cannibalized because I've taken everything off it when I was testing the hot air station yesterday. But it's broken anyway, because when the idea, what I was going to do with this was connect a bigger LCD. This was going to be part of a machine, but I destroyed the LCD connector when I took the flex ribbon cable connector off, and I've never fixed it, so it's dead. So I stole the crystal from this board to put in the other one that I made. So as far as that, and that was after having looked through the crystal bag in the cupboard. So as far as I was concerned, I didn't have any crystal that was suitable for these boards. But oddly enough, when I went in the cupboard this time, a crystal had magically appeared. So I was able to fix it, and as we can see when we turn it on, I now get a display which is upside down for you. So it works. So we can finish the computer, which is good news. Now, just open this up. The next thing that I ran out of was hot glue sticks, because we're going to need hot glue to do this. There's 7.5 or 7mm hot glue sticks, which I had to order and have now arrived today. So we're good to go and get this thing finished, hopefully. I've got the screws in the cup. Now, one of the key things that I need to sort out is the buttons. And we've got this little array of jumpers at the back. Which poke out of this hole at the back of the board. I'll worry about that later on. I think that's to do, well, that's obviously to do with the memory upgrade. We've got a collection of screws. We've got a plectrum, which has got nothing to do with it. Now, these are the buttons that go on the little button mount. Move along a bit so you can see. Little buttons here. I don't know where they came from, but they're quite nice. And some screws, which we'll pop back in there for now, because we're not doing anything with those yet. Now, find the little array of buttons. Now, I'm not going to mess around with this too much. I've marked off the pin out, so I know where it's got to plug in. This is interesting. Where does this wire even go? Does it work without this plugged in? I'm just curious. I don't even know what it does. There's bits of this machine which I just don't know. I've got no idea what they're there for. Does it switch on? Yes, so that's not needed. I don't know what that's for. There's a capacitor here, which is where I'm taking 5 volts from, and it's almost like there's a way of, I wonder if it's a boost. Nah. Well, if it works without it, I'm taking it off. Right, that uncomplicates things a little. Right, still works. Not good enough for me. So we can concentrate on the buttons. The buttons are basically the only thing we've got left to do. So, the other thing I wanted to do was try and make it so that this wire for the power supply for the screen can come off. I think that would probably be worth doing. I'm not quite sure. We'll just put a connector right in the middle of here? Probably a good idea. Yeah. That might be a good idea. Right, so gluing these buttons on. Let's try and reacquaint myself with how this thing goes in here. Alright, so it hot glues in from the bottom, and obviously we don't want it to snag on anything. Some of them are really badly misaligned, which is going to be a problem. So actually they're all badly misaligned. The whole thing needs to shift along a bit by the look of it. Let's have a look again. Perhaps we could improve this a little bit. Well, the one at the end's centered, more or less. This is going to be fun. This is going to be fun. How do we best do this? We'll glue them on one at a time. It's going to be a complete nightmare. I could pop the buttons in the holes. First, and then drop some glue on them, and then push the button mount in and hope that everything just lines up. We'll give it a try. Why not? We'll give it a try. A little dab of glue on the button. Well, actually, probably be better off on here. One of them is really badly misaligned, but there's not a great deal I can do about it unless I want to rebuild this thing. I'll try. Put the top back on the glue. This is nail glue, but it's just super glue. It does the job. Right, here goes. Try and fit this back in where, more or less where it was to begin with, and hope that the buttons still press down. They do. Oh, well, that's good. That's looks like it works. I'm not going to glue anything in yet. Try and hook the buttons up and just see if, generally speaking, it works. So I did mark these off so that I wouldn't forget. One of them is, which one's ground? 1, 2, 3, 4. Ground is the end one. Which way did I number them? I get the feeling I numbered them from that side. Let's give it a try. We can always rearrange them later on. Get an SD card and see if we can get the thing to work. Does it still power on? Yes. Still powers on. Do any of the buttons work? Oh shit. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. That doesn't do anything. Does the shift button work? Nothing works. Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. What have I done wrong? What's going on with this? Let's try and put a card in. If I can find a card. Where would I find a card? Oh, there's a card. Here's a card, and I think this has got some files on it. Some ATR files on it, so let's boot it up, see if it recognises the card. Yes, it does. So, let's see what happens. That one works. That one works. That one doesn't work. Shift. Ah, maybe this is back to front. I think I've got these on backwards. Okay, let's try again. Let's put them on the other way. I'm kind of surprised about that. Gonna have to get this right. I can't even remember how the firmware on this thing used to work. It's a little bit of an obstacle to testing it. We'll try. Yeah, I'm gonna have to figure out what this restream problem is with the bandwidth on the videos, because I would kind of like to stream to Twitch as well as YouTube. Let's try again. Okay. That looks right. This looks... Can I go backwards? Oh shit, it's moved. I'm gonna go backwards. Alt, Falcon, Pacman Terrace. Falcon, Alt, Pacman Terrace. Oh, looks alright, that seems to work. So the buttons work, whether they're wired up in the right way or not, I don't know, but they appear to work. I think we're nearly finished. I think we're nearly done. So I'm gonna carefully glue this back in. I've got some little pads to put this thing on so it doesn't get scratched. I'm gonna glue this in, and then we're gonna make a connection for the power line so it can be unplugged, and I think we should be good to go. So let's warm the glue gun up. Alright. And the board itself is mounted to the top of the case here. Let's turn it off. This seems to have gone together okay. Try to switch this camera back to 720p just to see if the frame rate would improve a little bit, but the camera shut down. That's a really crappy setup, this, but it sort of works. I mean, at first this camera setup was just, it seemed incredible. I mean, it is good when it works, but you quickly feel like you want something better. So we'll just wait for the hot glue to warm up. After we've finished this, aside from Uno carts, we've got this to look at, which is a Rana 1000 disk drive. Got 3 mechanisms, one of which is to keep, the other 2 are to fix and return, and apparently they've all got rotation speed issues, so they need to be calibrated. Whether or not I'm capable of doing that, I have no idea, but I'm going to have a try. Whether it can be done by sort of by eye or with a mobile phone camera, which Rybags seem to think you could do. I don't know, but we'll have a try. Right, is this ready? Here we are ready. Hot glue is ready. I hate this stuff because it just seems to get everywhere. Okay, let's get this thing glued in. There. Right. Come on. Let's transition from the end of the other stick to the start of the new one is always a little bit fiddly. This one enough at either end to stop the buttons falling out. Is there any way I can strengthen the middle section just with a bit here? Possibly. Come on. You're finally in. That's it. It's finally gripped. Just put that there. Right. It looks okay. Normally I prefer epoxy because it just gives you a little bit more sort of breathing space when it comes to drying off. Well, that looks okay. That looks pretty good. So, why don't we, while we're here, let's put that little jumper switch in place at the back. Probably supposed to sit flush with the back of the case. Let's unplug this. Where are we? Yeah, I think it's supposed to be flush, more or less. Looks okay. I'll just glue that in there. Come on. Right. Let all that dry off. Set. Now we can screw this back into the top half of the case, and we should actually, there's not really any need to put a break in that wire because it's taking the power straight from the, yeah, this comes, but yeah, that's fine, we'll just leave that. I've got the thing working, I'm not going to break it. I'm very curious to know what these 2 wires either side of this capacitor, these appear to have gone to that's weird. 5V. Oh, hang on, wait a minute, I know what that is. That's the power supply. That's the power supply for the backlight. My brain must have been off. Let's test it. See if we get 5V across here. Because that would be a lot neater than the way I've done it, by hooking it up to the SIO connector to take the power from the main board, and then you can unplug it. That makes sense. So let's have a look. Hope I plugged it in first. I'm going to plug it in and see what we get. Five volts. Put it on the other way. 5 volts on the left pin. So presumably that's ground. Well, that's pretty obvious it's ground, isn't it? So the right one's ground, isn't it? Right. Ah, okay. Yeah. That's what it is. So the left pin is 5 volts. Left pin's 5 volts. Right pin, ground. I like to be sure about these things. Yeah, it is. Okay, well, we'll wire it up to there then. Then we'll pull the board out of the machine a little bit easier. Okay, so he's got on there. Okay, just chop this off. Could just as easily for the SIO connector take 5 volts from the SIO jack on the back of the machine, but well, either works. I just think it's a little bit neater to do this properly. Insulation stripper. Let's move this to one side for a second. It's funny, I pulled this whole thing apart before I renovated the case, and I just did not pay enough attention to how it actually worked. Well, never mind. Got there in the end. At least I learned something during this process. Always learning. Never stop learning. It's a bit like playing the guitar, you never stop learning. Okay, let's switch on the iron. Get these wires tinned. Now reassemble the whole thing. It's going to look great. We have a I keep moving my hand across the top of here just to see what the frame rate's like, because it's just nothing works today. I'm gonna have to have a look to see. Give the iron a bit longer to warm up. This whole iron thing should be on the other side of the desk. I've got a desk in the other room, which we had the TV on. It's actually a computer desk. And the other day when we were walking back up the road the other day when we were walking up the road, we passed the little second-hand shop at the top of the street, and we'd been talking about getting a chest of drawers for the front bedroom so that I could have that desk back and put it in here because I need it. And there was a 3-drawer cabinet, brand new, for 29 quid. Oh, I'll turn this. Turn the soldering iron on. Might help it warm up. So there was a 3-drawer cabinet, and so we bought that and got it delivered. It was 3 quid to get it delivered. So that's in the front room, brand new. Drawers are really deep, so there's plenty of room for all the stuff. So that desk is now at the back of the front bedroom, waiting for me to clear enough space in here so I can actually put it in the room. And I don't know how I'm going to set it up, but the soldering station obviously needs to be on my right side because I'm right-handed, because at the moment it's on the left-hand side and I'm crossing over the wires, which isn't good. Something's going to get burnt. But I like to have the camera on the far wall here. Okay, I like the camera there so that the light from the window is coming down here. I don't want to be backlit, definitely not. That would be horrendous. So we've got this L-shaped kind of arrangement here. There's more room towards the camera there. The camera's actually on the top of a pair of step ladders. Just to get a decent angle. So I don't know what I'm going to do. And I need a computer here when I'm doing the videos. That computer is for the development and other stuff, the dual monitor setup, because I don't really want to have soldering gear near those monitors, because I've scratched monitors with the edges of PCBs before. So I don't know. I'm not quite sure how I'm going to set it up, but we'll figure something out. Is this iron hot yet? Are you hot yet? You are. It's a good little iron, this, actually. I know these Kalip and Yawawi and all that kind of stuff, they've got a really bad name for being underpowered and unreliable and not having any instructions and not having any support, but for 45 quid I'm not going to complain. I've gone from a 25 watt fixed temperature Antex soldering iron to something with hot air on it. I mean, it's a progression for me. Very interested in not scratching this paint. So which is the 5 volt wire, which I'm going to keep as red? Okay, so this is backwards. Okay, that's how we want to do it. Let's take these off. And take those off. What the fuck? Okay, that got rid of them. They are gone. Not needed. So, okay. This one on the left terminal. Ground on the right terminal. And hopefully it'll all still work. Hopefully I haven't just taken something that worked and destroyed it. Fingers crossed. So this, let's double check. I do not want to get this backwards. Red terminal in the left hole, other terminal in that hole, and then we switch it on again, and it works. Still it works. It still works. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. keyboard in, shouldn't we? Yes, let's put the keyboard in. Make sure everything roughly fits. We need to persuade a few wires to fit, but basically works. So we just screw it all together and it's more or less sorted. Just need to finesse things a little bit so that they all fit. So that one's good to go. I think it took about 3 weeks to get that one sorted out. Largely due to my own ineptitude. So the next thing we'll do, I'm not going to start it now on here, but the next thing we're going to do is have a look at this disk drive and see if we can set the rotation speed on it. I'm assuming that's what's wrong. That's what I was told was wrong, but who knows? Who knows? It's been self-diagnosed. Self-certified. Okay, so I'm going to wind this up now because I'm quite interested in going away and finding out what's wrong with the camera setup and the streaming and why it's all jumpy and shit, and why I can't use Restream to do 2 simultaneous streams that don't look like slideshows. It dampens your enthusiasm a bit, you know. I want to be positive, and I want to be enthusiastic, look and sound enthusiastic about what's going on, but when it's just constant technical problems, it just saps your enthusiasm. So anyway, that machine's fixed, done, just needs to be screwed together. Do a little bit more testing on it, and I hope you enjoyed it. There's no one in chat, but not a very good time of day for chat. So until next time, bye bye.